You think you're stuck, but you're not. You think you need more time, more money, more skills, more confidence. But that's not it either. The real reason you're not moving forward isn't because you can't. It's because you're terrified of what happens when you do. And I get it. I really do. Because for the longest time, I convinced myself I was stuck too. Stuck in the wrong job, stuck in the wrong relationships, stuck in patterns that drain my soul. But here's what I discovered, and it's going to sound almost too simple. You're not stuck, you're just scared to move. And the difference between those two things? It changes everything. See, when you believe you're stuck, you become powerless. You wait for external circumstances to change. You wait for someone to save you, for the perfect opportunity, for the stars to align. But when you realize you're just scared, that's when you reclaim your power. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why your brain tricks you into believing you're stuck, and more importantly, what you can do instead. By the end of this video, you'll have a completely different relationship with fear and movement. Trust me on this one. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a swimming pool. The water looks cold, maybe even a little intimidating. So you dip your toe in, and it's freezing. Your immediate reaction? I can't get in. It's too cold. But here's the thing. You absolutely could get in. Your body is perfectly capable of entering that water. What's really happening is your brain is protecting you from discomfort. It's creating the illusion that you can't, when what you really mean is, I don't want to feel cold. This is exactly what happens in life. Your brain, in its infinite wisdom to keep you safe, creates the illusion of being stuck when what you're really experiencing is fear of discomfort. Think about the last time you said, I'm stuck. Were you really physically unable to move? Or were you afraid of the discomfort that comes with change? Afraid of failing? Afraid of succeeding? Afraid of judgment? Afraid of the unknown? Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah spent 3 years complaining about her job. 3 years. She'd call me every few weeks, frustrated, exhausted, feeling completely trapped. I'm stuck, she'd say. I can't leave. I have bills to pay. I don't have other options. But then one day, her company announced layoffs. Suddenly, Sarah had no choice but to move. And you know what happened? Within 2 months, she had found a better job with higher pay and more flexibility. She wasn't stuck for 3 years. She was scared for 3 years. The moment external circumstances forced her to move, she discovered capabilities she didn't even know she had. She networked, she applied, she interviewed, she negotiated. All things she was perfectly capable of doing before, but her fear had convinced her she was stuck. Your brain is incredibly sophisticated at creating stories that justify inaction. It'll tell you that you need more education, more experience, more money, more time. It'll convince you that your circumstances are unique, that your situation is different, that everyone else has advantages you don't have. But here's what's really happening. Your brain is trying to protect you from the vulnerability that comes with trying and potentially failing. It would rather keep you safe and miserable than vulnerable and possibly disappointed. Now, let's get real about what fear actually is. Fear isn't your enemy. It's your overprotective friend who never learned when to back off. Your brain's primary job isn't to make you happy, it's to keep you alive. And for thousands of years, staying with the tribe, avoiding risks, and maintaining the status quo literally meant survival. Those who ventured out alone often didn't make it back. But here's the problem. Your brain can't tell the difference between actual physical danger and emotional discomfort. When you think about quitting your job, asking someone out, or starting that business, your brain activates the same alarm system it would if a tiger were chasing you. This is why that voice in your head sounds so urgent, so convincing. Don't do it. It's dangerous. Stay where you are. Your brain genuinely believes it's saving your life. Let me share something that completely changed my perspective. I was having coffee with a mentor of mine, and I was complaining about feeling stuck in my career. He looked at me and said, "You're not stuck. You're just more comfortable with familiar misery than unfamiliar possibility." That hit me like a truck, because he was right. I wasn't stuck. I was choosing the devil I knew over the angel I didn't. Here's a powerful reframe. Every time you catch yourself saying, "I'm stuck," replace it with, "I'm scared." Notice how different that feels. I'm stuck makes you a victim of circumstances. I'm scared acknowledges that you have a choice, even if it's a frightening one. I started doing this in my own life, and it was revolutionary. Instead of, "I'm stuck in this relationship," it became, "I'm scared to have the difficult conversation." Instead of, "I'm stuck financially," it became, "I'm scared to take the risks necessary to improve my situation." The moment you acknowledge fear instead of claiming stuckness, you shift from powerless to powerful. Because while you can't do much about being stuck, you can absolutely do something about being scared. Alright, so if you're not stuck, if you're just scared, what do you do about it? Here's my framework, and I want you to try this starting today. Step 1. Name the fear. Get brutally specific about what you're actually afraid of. Not the surface level stuff. Dig deeper. You're not afraid of public speaking. You're afraid of being judged. You're not afraid of starting a business. You're afraid of proving your parents right that you're not capable. Write it down. Make it real. Fear loses its power when it's dragged into the light of consciousness. Step 2. Question the fear. Ask yourself, is this fear protecting me from actual danger or from discomfort? Most of the time, it's discomfort. And discomfort isn't dangerous, it's just uncomfortable. Then ask, what's the worst thing that could realistically happen? Not the catastrophic movie version your brain creates, but the actual, realistic worst-case scenario. Often, it's not nearly as bad as your imagination makes it out to be. Step 3. Take the smallest possible step. You don't have to leap, you just have to move. If you want to change careers, you don't have to quit tomorrow. But you could update your resume. You could have one conversation. You could spend 30 minutes researching options. The goal isn't to eliminate fear, it's to move in the presence of fear. And here's the magic. Every small step builds evidence that you can handle more than you think you can. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus wanted to become a freelance graphic designer, but was terrified of leaving his stable corporate job. For months, he told himself he was stuck, that he couldn't make the transition. Then, he tried this framework. His fear wasn't really about money. It was about proving his father right that creative pursuits were just hobbies. Once he named that fear, he could work with it. He started by taking on one small freelance project while keeping his day job. Just one. It went well. Then another. Within 6 months, he was making more from freelancing than his corporate salary. He wasn't stuck. He just needed to start moving despite the fear. Step 4. Celebrate the movement. This is crucial. Every time you've moved despite fear, celebrate it. Even if the outcome isn't perfect, even if you fail, you're rewiring your brain to associate courage with positive feelings instead of anxiety. Your brain learns from repetition. If every time you take action despite fear, you beat yourself up for not doing it perfectly, you're teaching your brain that courage leads to pain. But if you celebrate the act of courage itself, regardless of outcome, you're building a foundation for future brave actions. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but you don't understand my situation. I really am stuck. I have kids to feed, bills to pay, responsibilities. I hear you, and I'm not suggesting you abandon all responsibility and follow your bliss off a cliff. But I am suggesting that even within constraints, you have more options than you think. The single mother who thinks she's stuck in a dead-end job? She might not be able to quit tomorrow, but she could spend 30 minutes a week building skills that create new possibilities. The person drowning in debt who thinks they're stuck financially? They might not be able to transform their situation overnight, but they can take one small step toward improvement. Here's the truth. Circumstances can be limiting, but they're rarely as limiting as we make them out to be. What we call being stuck is often just an unwillingness to be uncomfortable while we work towards something better. And sometimes, the scariest part isn't the action itself. It's admitting that we've been choosing familiar misery over uncertain possibility. It's admitting that we've had more power than we wanted to acknowledge because with power comes responsibility. Let me share something vulnerable with you. There was a period in my life where I stayed in a relationship that was slowly destroying my sense of self because I was terrified of being alone. I told myself I was stuck, that leaving would be too complicated, too painful, too risky. The truth was, I was scared that if I left and ended up alone, it would confirm my deepest fear, that I was unlovable. So I chose the pain I knew over the uncertainty I didn't. When I finally got honest about the fear underneath the stuckness, everything changed. I realized I could handle being alone. I realized I could handle heartbreak. I realized I could handle uncertainty. And once I knew I could handle those things, I was free to choose. So here's what I want you to do starting right now. Think of one area of your life where you've been telling yourself you're stuck. Just one. Now complete this sentence. I'm not stuck. I'm scared of Talmud. Be honest. Be specific. What are you really afraid of? Once you've named it, ask yourself, what's the smallest step I could take toward what I actually want despite this fear? Not the perfect step, not the complete solution, just the smallest possible movement in the right direction. Maybe it's sending one email, maybe it's having one conversation. Maybe it's spending 15 minutes researching. Maybe it's simply admitting to yourself that you do have a choice, even if all your choices feel scary. The goal isn't to eliminate fear, it's to stop letting fear eliminate your choices. And here's something beautiful that happens when you start moving despite fear. You discover that you're more resilient than you thought. You discover that discomfort is temporary. You discover that action creates clarity in ways that thinking never can. I've watched this transformation happen in my own life and in the lives of countless others. The moment you stop believing you're stuck and start acknowledging you're scared, everything shifts. Because stuck people are powerless, but scared people? Scared people can still choose courage. Your future self, the one living the life you actually want, isn't waiting for you to become fearless. They're waiting for you to become brave. And bravery isn't the absence of fear, it's feeling the fear and moving anyway. If this hit home for you, I want to hear about it. Go to the comments and tell me one area where you've been calling yourself stuck when you're really just scared. Sometimes just naming it publicly is the first step toward freedom. And if this helped shift your perspective, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content that challenges you to see your life differently. Remember, you're not stuck, you're just scared to move. And that's okay. Scared people can still choose courage.